Hello and welcome, I'm Misstical. This is Misstical Gaming. Today we're jumping into Watcher of Realms and I want to have a look at Infernal Roar, Soulbound Arcana and Xaris really. There was a conversation that came up in guild chat the other day. And essentially I've always gone with, if you want to test if someone's good with Infernal Roar, put them in a fight such as the guild boss, and we'll have a little look at it now, and put them in with Volka. Now Volka gives you the ability, when you do a basic attack, you heal, and Infernal Roar says we will give you 40% extra to your basic attack. So if you heal, then Infernal Roar would work with your basic attack. That's essentially it. That's the plan. Now I was in guild chat and someone said, well, what about Xaris, because he doesn't heal, and clearly he doesn't heal there, and we can chuck in another hero there and we can see their basic attack going off and their healing, so absolutely fine, just exactly as we expected, apart from the Xaris. Now he says that Xaris is absolutely fantastic in Infernal Roar set, so I thought, well, we'll have a look, we'll have a play. So we've got a couple of sets available. What we've done is we've got an Infernal Roar set, we've got a Soulbound Arcana set, so I wanted to have a quick check with that, and we've got a mixed set. They've all got the same stats on them, so it doesn't matter which one we put on. We can see that our stats actually don't change there. They'll remain the same, so we'll stick him in the mixed set to start with, and then we're going to take him for a run to see what damage he does, and then we'll have a check to see what he's like in Infernal Roar and what works and what doesn't, and then we'll have a look at Soulbound Arcana just to sort of tie it up and see how it sort of pans out really. Now I just get myself out of the way and I'll put myself on the other side of the screen for this, because it's going to work out a lot easier if I'm over here and we can see everything. So placing Xaris down, no great shakes. And then we've got a mob coming down. I thought I'd do it on the arena just to change things up really. So we can chuck him down and we can have a look at the damage he does and that sort of stuff, okay? And then we can get a reading of that. Then we will compare that to the normal damage he does, okay? Or the damage he does in Infernal Roar and then the Soulbound Arcana. There he goes, hitting away. Right, I mean, we haven't rolled any gear up or anything like that, so we're not expecting big numbers. We're just seeing what happens, okay? And we're taking a read of the basic numbers he does, what he hits for, what his summons hit for, that sort of thing, and what happens when we cast his ultimate. Generically, he just casts up more people. So we hit for 2,800 and a bit there, and then we cast up his ultimate. We can see the rest of the summons hit for about 3,995, and then we get some big hits later on, not including the crits. They are a nightmare to actually track down for me. It's for 7,800, so there we go, in that round. And then we can swap his gear out. So that was in the mixed set, and then if we now tick off the Infernal Roar, we see his stats don't change at all. He's now got the Infernal Roar set on, and we can chuck him in there, and we can have a look at what he does damage wise now with Infernal Roar. So all things being equal, his basic attack we would assume would increase by 140%. Because you get that additional 40% onto it, so we would expect it to be 140 times greater than it was last round. So we've got a mob coming around, we can put the Xaris down and we can just put up the numbers beforehand, so we know what he hit for beforehand, and then we now have a look at what he's hitting for. So there we go, we're getting the 10,000 straight off the bat. So his summons do hit, or his summons are counted towards Infernal Roar. So there's his hit, there's his summons hit, there's the other hit from him as well. I mean, yeah, he actually works, although he doesn't heal because his summons are being affected by the Infernal Roar set. His basic attack is to summon, is to do the summoning. So they get the Infernal Roar bonus, which is quite nice. So it's good to see. Now the question is, what happens then, just for a fullness of checking everything, what happens when I put him in Soulbound Arcana? So I've chucked him in the Soulbound Arcana set, we can chuck him through, we can put the graphic up on the top again and have a look at what he's supposed to hit for and what we're expecting to get, that sort of thing, and we can have a look there. So this is the mob coming around now, as we expect, and then we're chuck down our Xaris, and now he's in Soulbound Arcana, and then we can see what's happening now. Now we would expect before the ultimate goes off that he would hit for the normal numbers. Absolutely, there we go. There's some normal numbers coming up, absolutely fine. So we then hit our ultimate. Now he still hits for the same normal amount there and there. It gets quite weird. There you go. Now we've jumped up with the exception of a rounding issue, to what we expect, and then the rest of our numbers hit sort of about there as well, which is sort of what we expect. Now it's a little bit odd because I don't know for definite, my assumption is, I believe when he does a summon, it's the new summon takes a snapshot of his attributes at the time, Soulbound Arcana. So as you've done more ultimates, they would slowly increase. Now the other thing that was weird is it affected his summons. So we're picking up more heroes that do summons and have a check with them and see if they are affected by Infernal Roar as well. And it all gets a little bit weird. So I won't carry on with the Soulbound Arcana. I might have a check into that, but I believe as you re-summon, then you take a snapshot of the hero's attributes at that point of the summoning, and that's what the summon gets attached to. So whilst we use Infernal Roar on them, when we do our summon, like for Honora here, she does a summon and it stays there. So I don't think she'd be very good in Soulbound Arcana. I could be very wrong. But with the likes of Zaris, he keeps continually re-summoning. So he may work in a very long fight with Soulbound Arcana, but he gets weaker and weaker the longer the fight goes on. So I dare say he's absolutely designed for Infernal Roar for that burst damage. I wouldn't try and change him out of it, I don't think, but I think for the sake of testing it might be worth doing. So these are the hits that Honora does. I sort of marked them all down, the bulk of the ones that I could see. I've avoided crits, that sort of thing. I just wanted to sort of get a feel of how I think things work, that sort of thing, and if summoned creatures or mobs are affected by Infernal Roar. So that was her first run through. And then this run through here, we've put her in the Infernal Roar set. I've edited out all the bits where I go and change them. You don't want to see that. You've seen the set, you've seen what she's getting put into. I mean, if you really want to see the unedited version and see it being hours long, then fine, give us a shout if you want to watch it. I will put it up and you can watch it to your heart's content. But this is really the Infernal Roar set. So Infernal Roar, she gets affected by straight off the bat, which you would expect her basic to. But also, it appears that the dragon that she summons as well, that is also affected by Infernal Roar. What isn't being affected is the dot damage they do, which isn't a surprise, I don't think. I think that's already calculated in anyway, so that doesn't make any difference. And now, even during the ultimate, her ultimate is sort of affected, but not completely. It's a bit weird how the ultimate works with Infernal Roar. It doesn't seem to work as I thought it would do, but it works slightly better than the normal. So I don't really know what's going on with the ultimate and how things are worked out, but definitely the basic attacks of her summon and her summon are affected by Infernal Roar set, which is another summoner or someone that does summons that is affected with the Infernal Roar. So I'm just going on and checking out more and more heroes really. So let's check out some more of these heroes as well that do our summons. So here's Beatrice. She's going to get used a lot. She's had a nice little buff recently. She's getting more playtime. We can chuck her down. We've got her in the mix set at the moment, and we can chuck her down just to see what she does. Mark off her damage, fire her off her ultimate, and then see what happens with her. Okay, so there we are. There's her ultimate going off. Now again, Soulbound Arcana, I presume, I haven't tested this yet, but my guess is each time she then does her ultimate, if it was a long enough fight, she might well end up being better off in it, because the damage would be affected by the summons at that snapshot. So when she reaches 5 stacks, she might well be better off using the Soulbound Arcana set. But again, I haven't checked it. This was just, I wanted to see how summons worked, or summoned mobs worked with Infernal Roar. And it appears to be, on the face of it, all the ones I'm checking at the moment do seem to be working with the Infernal Roar. So the Infernal Roar is classing those summons as part of their basic attack, even when they're not actually part of their basic attack, to be fair. So this is her coming in here. As we can see, we've got a small rounding issue, but after sort of 1 point here or there, then we're pretty much in there. There we go. There's the 12,000, and there's the 3.9. We got 2.8 as opposed to 2.9. I mean, yeah, a point here or there. It's more of a rounding issue, I think, than anything else. So Again, Beatrix and her summons work remarkably well in Infernal Roar. Just worth knowing, I think, more than anything else. I'm just curious on how they actually work and interact. So Beatrix, another one ticked off. We can use her. Now, of course, someone else that everyone's got recently and does summons is Sun Wukong. Now, we're going to have a quick check to make sure of how things work and see, but bear in mind this is only to do with his summons. He's classed as a summoner, he summons his clones. I don't know whether the ultimate works with Infernal Roar or whether the ultimate's classed as a basic attack or not. You'd have to look into that yourselves and adjust. I've got mine in Soulbound Arcana, not Infernal Roar. But there we go, there's the damage being knocked out by him and his clone. We can see that going through already. Now, the only other thing to sort of watch out for is, like I say, he does reproduce his clones. So Soulbound Arcana, I don't think would be a bad shout for him. So as his clones die, he does produce another one. And as long as it's that snapshot, I believe, I could be wrong again, I haven't fully tested this out, it's just my belief on how it actually works, that's going to replace, and those clones that come along after you've triggered an ultimate, they would then be affected by the Soulbound Arcana triggers. And remember, that's any ultimate as well. So if you're doing things like Apocalypse 2, you've got a full 10-man team, that sort of thing, then those ultimates are going to come around thick and fast for you as well. Okay, now this is him in Infernal Roar, and then we can have a quick check of whether his clones are affected by Infernal Roar. I think it's just worth knowing now. So there we go, there's the damage he does there, and he's getting the Infernal Roar, he's getting that bonus there. There's his clone, and the clone gets it as well. So it's another one where the summon from the hero actually is affected by Infernal Roar. Whether this is useful or not, I don't know, but I think it's definitely worth knowing and definitely being aware of. The other thing to be aware of when looking at who benefits from Infernal Roar, if you've got a hero that benefits from Infernal Roar, then without a doubt they're going to benefit more, I would have thought, from putting skill books into their A1. Now, just a quick one here. I've chucked in our Lord here because I've chucked him in with this. So there's our mob there. We summoned this and we saw we did 8,061 points of damage with our Wailing Skull. So now if we put him down, I've put him in the Infernal Roar set. I had him in that mix set to start with. I've now put him in the Infernal Roar set. For the sake of checking, I just wanted to find out whether whether the Infernal Roar set works with him as well. So down he goes. There we go, with the 8,061 to start with. Now in Infernal Roar, there we go. We can see quite happily that Infernal Roar does affect the Wailing Skull as well. So it's quite interesting to see that if you've got it, then the amount of summons that come out. So just have a check. If you've got someone Infernal Roar, if they do summons, then you're quite likely that they're actually going to benefit from Infernal Roar set, even if they don't heal from Volka as well. So if we come down here and we go to summons, so these are the heroes that I've got that fall into that category. Now I don't have Beelzebub, so if you've got him, you'd have to check him out separately. No, he does a summon. I don't have him. I didn't bother checking the epic, so I could have checked there, but I didn't. I did check these two. Now, firstly, they don't get a lot of playtime anyway, but they fall into the worst of the category. So Infernal Roar does affect their summons, but their ultimate isn't classed as a basic, so they don't get the bonus on their ultimate, and they're not particularly good anyway. So you may not be playing them massively, but just bear in mind, if you have got them in Infernal Roar, which you probably haven't, but if you saw this and thought, oh, they're a summoner, I can put them in Infernal Roar because their summons do benefit from them, absolutely do, but their ultimates don't benefit from Infernal Roar either. So they sort of fall into the worst part of both areas, really. Okay, Right, that's it from me today. I just wanted to have a little look and a little play around with it. I've been sort of had this video on the back burner for a little while, and I thought, well, I must get it out at some point. So there you go. A little bit more about Infernal Roar, how it works and how it integrates. It's quite interesting to see that it does integrate with summons, and I think we'll probably do a bit more work on Soulbound Arcana to make sure that we can get those summons if you are resummoning, like the likes of maybe Beatrix that we're going to keep summoning. She's going to up the power of her summons each time, whereas Uranora, I don't think she's going to benefit each time from those hits. She will herself, but Dragon I don't think will. I could be wrong, but we'll have a play test and see how that all pans out in the future, hopefully at some point. Okay, right, that's me done for the day. Thank you very much for your time. If you could leave me the old thumbs up, like, subscribe, would help me out massively, and I'll see you all in a video again soon. Thank you very much. Cheers. Goodbye.